sound guy?
Not really. That guy standing in front of the table, Greg, he's the sound guy.
Oh, okay.
Testing, 1, 2, testing. Can you all hear me with this? Okay. Kevin, come sit down.
Would you ask everyone in the lobby to come in? Thank you. All right. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm Kate Hagerman. I am the program manager of Catskill Mountainkeeper. I'd also like to thank the representatives who are here from Congressman Antonio Delgado's office, Senator George Amador's office, newly elected County Executive Pat Ryan's office. We're also glad to have representatives from our Ulster County legislator here, District 3 Dean Fabiano, and District 1 Mary Waro. Is she here? I think she's on her way. But she's on her way. She'll be here any minute. So we're all here because we are concerned about the unpermitted dumping of construction and demolition debris from New York City in the woods of Saugerties. It's okay. Turn off your GPS now, please. You've arrived. Okay, let me start again. We are all here because we are concerned about the unpermitted dumping of construction and demolition debris from New York City in the woods of Saugerties, and what it could mean for our water, air, public health, and communities' quality of life. Woodstock Land Conservancy, you met Maxanne at the entrance, who was getting everyone to sign our petitions. Woodstock Land Conservancy and Catskill Mountainkeeper organized this community forum to update everyone on the status of our efforts to stop the dumping in Saugerties. There has been a tremendous public outcry to the lack of oversight and enforcement by the Department of Environmental Conservation. Catskill Mountainkeeper's attorney, Emily Svenson, here to my left, who was part of this panel this evening, wrote a letter to the DEC citing the laws the dump owners, Joseph and Rachel Carolus, are breaking. Emily will go through the letter in detail, and I'm excited to say that just today the DEC responded to our letter. Emily will walk us through their response and what it may mean. Also on our panel this evening is Saugerties Town Supervisor Fred Costello. What an amazing town supervisor. In other towns, it might be much harder to get the government to be this responsive. But not only has Supervisor Costello heard our voices, the town has taken this very seriously and is taking action on a number of levels. Supervisor Costello is going to update us on these actions and as well as the challenges ahead. Sorry, Fred. And Mike Ferraro has lived next to one of the dump sites for decades and has seen firsthand how this problem started and has grown. Not only did he see what was happening, but he sounded the alarm when he realized that the DEC was citing the questionable operations but not following through. And that's why we are all here tonight, because of Mike. After the panelists speak, we will have a brief Q&A, and please don't go home just yet unless you've already signed our petition and the letters up front. So we have lots of actions that you can take. We still need to put a lot of pressure on the DEC. And we also have a list of representatives for you to call in a little script. Okay, so without further ado, Supervisor Fred Costello.
Thank you all. Keith, thank you so much for helping organize this. The best partner, most reliable partner we've had so far is the Catskill Mountainkeeper and the Woodstock Land Trust. I know Maxanne's here somewhere. Hello, Maxanne, she's in the back. And they've been with the town every step of the way in this process, trying to organize a response and to help us seek an enforcement action. As Kate said, we wouldn't be here without Mike, who helped organize his neighborhood and bring to our attention much of the activity that was happening on the 212 site and the Goat Hill and then the Felquest site. So there's 3 sites that are being impacted. Mike brought to our attention what was going on. We started a low-level conversation with the DEC. We were made aware of some of the activity that they were undertaking to try to do some enforcement. This operation functions under a registration that was filed with the DEC that authorized curlers. Not working? Can you hear it better now? Okay. So we became aware of some of the enforcement activity that the DEC was doing and some of the struggles that they were facing. So this operation occurs under a registration from the DEC that allows Mr. Curlis to accept construction and demolition from Ulster and Dutchess County. It came to our attention, and by his own admission, that this material was coming from well beyond Ulster and Dutchess County. So when that became apparent at the end of 2018, and the scale had increased over time. In 2016, it was a pretty low-level operation, increasing in scale, and in late 2018, we were trying to be aggressive and seek enforcement action. That was fruitless, so we put a stop work order in place at the end of 2018. Their response was immediately to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals to seek relief, which we welcome, and the Zoning Board of Appeals agreed to take on the case, leaving the stop work order in place. Mr. Curlis then went to the courts. They got a hearing with the Ulster County Court. At the Ulster County Court, the stop work order was lifted, and the town was restrained in participating in any further enforcement activity until the court made a decision. We were obviously very disappointed in that decision, but we're obligated to follow the will of the court. So in the meantime, we continue to pursue further enforcement activity, and we became aware of a memo that came as a result of, or I think most of you here are aware of, some enforcement activity that the DEC undertook in mostly Long Island, but some of that activity happened up here against haulers who were bringing this material out of New York City and dumping it in neighboring towns and on Long Island. And the probable cause that was available to the DEC for enforcement back then indicated that if there was visual inspection of the material and it had things in it beyond construction debris, brick, soils, concrete, then they could take enforcement action. That memo that came out as a result of that lawsuit restricted the DEC from using that as probable cause. So since then, they have been scrambling through the courts, as are we, to get permission to go onto the property. Now, during this process and leading up to the ZBA activities, they were arguing that they're not doing anything wrong, that they have invited the town onto the property to take test samples, and that all of it was untrue. The definition that they said we could take samples was so narrow that we couldn't get an effective sample to prove whether the material was clean or not. We have a warrant request before the court that's pending, and we haven't heard back on it. It's my understanding that DEC is in the same situation where they have a warrant request to do sampling of the material as well. So as we stand, we have not been able to get accurate samples of that material and know whether it is safe or unsafe or what it may or may not hold. ZBA took on the issue. They were very prompt. They actually held a special meeting on April 18th. Many of us were able to attend. At that meeting, the ZBA upheld the town's enforcement activity. They agreed with the definitions that we supplied describing this operation not as an excavating and trucking business, but as a solid waste transfer station that was being used to the other 2 sites. So we were able, under zoning law, there's a restriction on that type of activity in Saugerties. He did not have the proper permits to do it, and the ZBA upheld the town's decision to do the stop work order. So that was terrific news that night. It happened on April 18th. The following Monday, we put our brief into court and said to the judge, who in the meantime had ruled against the town again with regard to enforcement, further restraining our ability to stop trucks and to do many of the things that seem obvious to all of us. Our interpretation of what was said is it was very clear they did not want the town to take any activity that would restrain this business's opportunity to conduct normal business. So we've had a little bit of support from the state police, who still do some activity because, as we all know, the trucks are in questionable with tarps and speed and things like that. but it really restricted the town's ability to participate in those enforcement activities. We have, given those restrictions, still been pursuing action through the courts, and we are pending. So immediately upon the ZBA decision, we sent an amended brief pointing to the ZBA decision that upheld us. We asked the court to make a quick decision on our behalf. The court's response was that Corollas and his attorney requested time to respond to the ZBA decision. The court granted them, I think, till May 10th to submit an amended brief in response to what the ZBA had done. And that has passed, and to my knowledge, they have not submitted an amended brief, but I don't know that for a fact. We complained that we did not want them to have more time. We felt that enough time has gone by, that the concerns are genuine, that the ZBA has supported our concerns, and a number of other agencies are supporting our concerns as well, and that we just wanted the court to make a decision. They responded by saying the town will have till May 19th to submit a response to whatever response the Corollas folks are spending and whatever amendments we might want to add to our brief. So that leaves us where we are today. We have a window to submit additional information. Depending on whether there's a brief or not to be reviewed, we may or may not want to do that. We have contracted for some further testing. If that test data is available, we will add it to our brief. We are awaiting at this point a court decision to lift the restraining order and uphold the stop work order that was placed back in December of 2018. And I think we've all been frustrated by the pace of this. It's not without a lot of grief. I know many of you folks, especially the folks on Felquai and Goat Hill, have been good partners, taking pictures of trucking activity that occurred after 3 o'clock. We have a lot of hard information about the debris that's been deposited mostly on Goat Hill Road and the hazard that creates for especially motorcycles. It's coming up on motorcycle season. So we're grateful for the support that the community has brought to us. I know a number of residents have also given us permission to go onto their land to help at least get accurate photographs, and we haven't been able to get close enough to get good samples of the material, but we are very grateful for the support we've been getting from the community. And we are also grateful because by you taking pictures of the activity in the morning, before 7, and after 3, which is the window of operation that the court has granted them, it helps us make the case. And we were going to take some enforcement activity after 3 or before 7. They became pretty sensitive to that, so they've been kind of sneaky about how they operate outside of those hours. We're suspicious that rather than go on 212 to Glasgow Turnpike to Felquai, they're going all the way around to Fish Creek. We haven't been able to catch that happening. We have plenty of reports from neighbors who have witnessed that, and also some activity on Goat Hill Road. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. We'll be able to answer some questions. I don't want to take too much time. And Mike has been a terrific partner as well, and I think he's going to be next to speak. Okay?
Yeah, I'm Mike Ferraro. I live across the street from the dump site. Started 2016 and just got increasingly big, large piles of debris, lots of trucks. Yeah, how's that better? You know, as of, like Fred said, the end of 2018, it has got progressively worse. A lot more trucks, close to 30 trucks a day were coming in there, dumping material. All the materials going out to John Joy Field, what's his name? Felquai Road and Goat Hill Road. Since the meeting on the 18th of April from the ZBA, since that point he has taken a lot of caution doing what he's doing, but he has removed almost all the material from 212 and basically dumped it all up on Goat Hill Road. Everything went to Goat Hill Road, and he still remained getting trucks in, maybe 5, 6 trucks a day, not as much. And as of the past couple days, I notice he is cleaning up his lot there to make it look pretty, so he didn't do nothing wrong now. But the fact is, you still have all the material on Goat Hill and off of John Joy Road is where the main debris is that we need to address. And I keep an eye on it every day is what I do. I keep track of everything that's going on. And I thank everybody for all their support.
So I think it's an important note to make. There are multiple tracks of enforcement. So the town is engaged and we are upholding the town municipal code and the town zoning law. We have zoning laws that are designed to protect us from this activity, and under the general municipal code, there's a number of areas where we can seek enforcement again, particularly with the dumping that's occurring on Qualify and on Goat Hill. In addition to that, another track of enforcement is going to be is once the DEC is fully engaged, there are a number of state laws that we feel are being violated with regard to wetlands, the dumping activities on both Goat Hill and Felquai, the use of the public highway in the manner that is being the deposition of debris onto the public highway on 212, which is a state road, and Goat Hill in particular, and it happens also on John Joy. And also we feel there's a number of DOT violations that have occurred. The curb cut for the property is not the lawful and recognized curb cut that wasn't obtained in a proper channel. There's a letter memorializing that from the DOT. So there's a number of enforcement activities that are being pursued. The focus of the town, given the resources that are available to us, is to try to uphold the general municipal code and the zoning law. And we feel we have, our position on that has been somewhat reinforced by the ZBA decision, especially with regard to the zoning law. So our resources give us the opportunity to seek that channel of enforcement, and that's where we've focused our energy and are trying to do it, and as well at the same time persuade the DEC to take enforcement action on many of the state regulations that are being violated. Sorry, thank you.
No, it's perfect. You actually covered what I was about to say, so
okay.
Excellent. My name is Emily Svenson. I'm an environmental attorney working for Catskill Mountainkeeper on this. I just want to recognize how fortunate you are to have a town government and a town supervisor that's taking this issue so seriously and really doing everything they can to address it. And Catskill Mountainkeeper, absolutely. And so I just wanted to go over, kind of break down the legal status here and what laws come into play both on the town and the state level, and what enforcement action is and isn't happening, and that'll lead into some of the actions that you can take to help with that enforcement action. So just to start out, to reiterate what Supervisor Costello just said about the town laws, there are a few laws in the town of Saugerties that apply here. Chapter 204 is a law that the town has about operating any construction and demolition, waste processing, or disposal facility. So if you want to do something like that in Saugerties, you need an annual permit, and there are no annual permits for these facilities. There's also zoning law that says where in town you can have certain activities, and the Route 212 facility is a waste management facility in an area that isn't zoned for that. There's also stormwater regulations that say that if you're going to disturb more than an acre of land, you need to have a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which are also not in place. So those are the sections of the town law that the town based its enforcement action on. So because of all those violations, the town issued stop work orders, which I won't go over it all again, but as Supervisor Costello said, Mr. Corollas had an appeal to the ZBA claiming that the Route 212 facility should be allowed to continue because it was a pre-existing business, so essentially that it was grandfathered. And in the meantime, he went to the New York State Court and got an order staying the town's enforcement while that appeal was pending to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals, based on a lot of testimony provided by neighbors and people in the community, determined that the waste transfer facility was not grandfathered, that it had not existed prior to the zoning being put in place, and that it could not continue. But unfortunately, the town is not able to enforce its own laws because of this court order. So the court told the town, you can't enforce any of your code until we are able to review both sides of the story. And the idea being not that the court was reluctant to shut down a business, but now that all these briefs have been submitted, hopefully the court will look it all over and understand that the town needs to have the right to enforce its laws, and hopefully that the outcome will be that the town can go ahead and do that. Now, that's one whole set of laws, the town laws. The New York State laws are a completely different set of laws, and that's what we kind of wanted to focus on this evening, because it's important not just here, but for other locations in the area as well, that the New York State DEC is able to enforce its laws. So the basic law in New York State is that you can't landfill waste without a permit. And so the Felquy and Goat Hill road sites are essentially landfills for waste without a permit. And the way that, the argument that Mr. Corollas is making is that it's not waste. That it's not, that the material is not waste because it complies with certain regulations that exempt certain things from waste. So DEC has what they call beneficial use determinations, BUDs, and they're set up to allow recycling of construction and demolition debris. A lot of things are torn down in this world, and we need to do something with the material. And so they have beneficial use determinations that say if the material is clean and it's used in certain ways, then it's not waste anymore and it's not regulated as waste. But they're very specific. And so those are some, if you have the interest in reading the entire letter that we put together here, I'll give you a couple examples. There's a BUD for asphalt, but it's only for asphalt that's separated, and it's only asphalt, and it's used to construct a new paved surface. So if you're tearing out a road and you keep that material separate and you use it to construct a new paved surface, there's a BUD for that. There's a BUD for aggregate that's made from concrete, brick, and rock that meets a municipal or state specification or standard for use as a commercial aggregate. So if you separate just concrete, brick, and rock, and you use it as a commercial aggregate, there's a BUD for that. So you can see these are very specific. And they don't cover just mixing together concrete, soil, asphalt, everything, and putting it in a pile. There's not a BUD for that. So we're trying to make sure that DEC is interpreting its own regulations and enforcing against that. There is, unfortunately, DEC is somewhat constrained by an enforcement discretion policy that came out at the state level. So the state DEC changed its regulations in 2017, in part to crack down on construction and demolition debris dumping that was occurring. And after they changed the regulations, they were sued, and as part of, that lawsuit is still ongoing, and as part of the temporary settlement, they have agreed not to enforce against certain activities that are currently prohibited under the new regulations. So it's like they put new regulations in place and now they're backing off on some of them. But even if you read through their enforcement discretion policy carefully, there's still there's nothing in there that says that what's going on at Goat Hill and Felquy should not be enforced against by DEC. And then also, as far as the Route 212 facility, DEC also regulates construction and demolition debris processing facilities. That facility does have a registration with DEC, but it's in violation of that registration because of the amount of waste it's accepting, the hours, and that it's not fenced in. It doesn't meet certain operational requirements. And DEC has issued some violation notices, but has not yet followed up on those. So we did write a letter to DEC and just explained all of what's going on, how it's affecting the community, and went through the violations of the law as we understand them. And we did receive a response today from the DEC regional director, who said that they are investigating and are currently seeking a warrant in order to access and inspect the sites, which, you know, sounds promising. And we're honestly not sure at this point if DEC is just kind of dragging its feet, or whether it's being very careful and documenting all of its steps so that when it does take enforcement action, it'll stand up in court. We're not sure, but what we do think is important is for all of you to let DEC know that this is important to you, to put that pressure on them so that they know that this is something the community wants to see them follow up on as quickly as possible. I think that's what I wanted to cover.
So, thank you, Emily, for all of your hard work on all of our behalf. So we have a petition. If you have not signed it, please make sure you sign this. I will be sending this in tomorrow to the commissioner of the DEC, as well as sending the letters. So there's a formatted letter to Commissioner Segos and the regional director, Tutura, asking them to do everything in their power to stop this dump, or the dumping of this debris in the woods of Saugerties. So I left a big space for you to put in your own voice, your own story. I live next door to blank, or whatever it is. Please shut this down with your name and your phone number, etc. There's also a list of the representatives with a little script at the top, just to kind of give you some prompts to call each one of your representatives, say you are a constituent, tell them to shut this down. And they will listen. You are, you know, they need you to vote for them. So it actually has a lot of weight. Am I missing anything else, Maxanne? Did I miss something? I think that's what we've got. So some letters, the petition, please call your representatives. And can I pass the petition out while we're doing the Q&A? Would anyone like, Nejla can pass this out. Raise your hand if you have not signed the petition. Great. We're going to do Q&A now. So that's a question. Yes?
Hi, Claudine Heller. I live on Sawwood Lane, which is off of John Joy by Felquay. And you didn't mention the issue about the water and the water pollution on our road, and that it's coincidental that after this dumping, all of a sudden, a year later, the Department of Health came and notified us that, you know what, we're going to give you some bottled water, and we're going to deliver you water. We don't want you drinking your water, but they don't specifically tell us why, other than the fact that this one contaminant that never existed before has all of a sudden shown up in our water when I am a quarter of a mile away from Felquay. Interesting.
We share your suspicion about the timing of this. The DEC's position has been that they have undergone a statewide inventory of closed landfills, and are trying to determine the source. We can't answer that, and I know I've spoken to a number of you who have not had this, identified these toxins in their water prior. So we're deeply concerned, not just about your water, but about the water, the impact this could have on Goat Hill. It's one of the reasons we're so motivated, because it's our drinking water. And we're deeply concerned about that. We don't have clear answers on that yet. We are engaged in a little bit of testing at this point. We have also been promised by the DEC that they will share their data with our town consultants and our town engineers, and we're hopeful that we can get a clear determination about what the problem is that's causing the elevated levels of those, and that's the first step into solving it. And you know, if we need those answers, quite frankly. And anyone who's here who has been contacted by the DEC and recommended bottled water, we endorse that recommendation. Please take it as a precautionary measure. The Department of Health contact, okay. So if you have been contacted by the Department of Health and they have offered you bottled water, please take it as a precautionary measure until we get the answers that we all deserve to kind of resolve the situation. We just don't know, and that's troubling. everybody's been very generous towards my efforts here, and I have to compliment that I've gotten unanimous support from the town board and every effort we've taken on here. Deputy Supervisor Thornton is right in front of me. Leanne, raise your hand. We believe in our zoning law. We believe that those laws were passed to protect our community, and we are willing to go through the court system to uphold our right to enforce our own laws. As a community, prior town boards went through the process of adopting a law. It's not an easy thing to do, and those laws were adopted in an effort to try to make us safe and to protect our quality of life, and we think this activity threatens both of those things. It violates our safety. When you have to drink bottled water in your own home, it's hard to feel safe when you're experiencing the truck traffic that many of you are experiencing, and elevated construction activity for extended period of times. That destroys our quality of life, and our zoning law is there to protect those things, and we are going to do everything we can to uphold our right, and we're going to partner with the DEC to make sure that they uphold the state laws as well.
Good evening, and I want to thank